ألم يأن للذين آمنوا أن تخشع قلوبهم لذكر الله وما نزل من الحق. This is one of those questions that let me set the scene for you. Sometimes someone who loves you, cares for you, provides for you, like a parent, if a mother said to a child, "Isn't it about time you showed me just a little bit of respect?" If a mom said that, "Isn't it about time that you showed me just a little bit of respect?" And she's not yelling. She's not screaming this at the top of her lungs. You see tears coming down her eyes. And she says, "Isn't it time yet? Because I keep hoping one day you'll just treat me with some kindness, with some little bit of respect." What would that do to you? Well, what effect would it have on a person? Like the feeling that I've been wronging mom all this time, and this is how she's speaking to me, would kind of dawn on us, right? I talked to you in previous khutbahs about shaming and guilting. You know what? Being ashamed in front of Allah is a good thing. Being guilty before Allah is a good thing. Shame and guilt can be misused by who? People. But being ashamed before Allah is health. Is it even needed sometimes? Is needed. And sometimes Allah says words that put a believer to shame. He literally puts my heart to shame, your heart to shame. He says, "Isn't it yet time for those who have come to the faith that their hearts, أَن تَخْشَعَ قُلُوبُهُمْ لِذِكْرِ اللَّهِ, that their hearts should be filled with awe, their hearts should feel overwhelmed because of the remembrance of Allah, because of the reminder from Allah, because of the remembering of Allah, by remembering Allah." And Dhikrullah is then, how do you remember Allah? And what kind of dhikr of Allah do you do that makes your heart tremble? He says, "Isn't it about time that when you remember me, something happens to your heart?" Is Allah's way of saying, so many of you are Muslim, you claim to be Muslim, you pray, you make du'as, you do all these things. But when I'm reminded of, when I'm talked about, when my word is talked about, you don't feel anything. There's nothing going on inside you. Isn't it yet time that you felt something? That something happened inside your heart when you heard my words? It's as if Allah Azza wa Jalla is highlighting here that, knowledge is important, but the purpose of knowledge, which is here, is to actually finally trigger something in here. The only reason I'm learning is that my heart gets affected. If I keep learning and learning and learning and my heart is not being affected, then that knowledge is becoming useless. In fact, he talked about other people who learned a lot, but their hearts were hard. So learning my religion is only actually a means to an end. And that end, that ultimate end, is actually my heart should feel a tremble when I engage Allah's words, when I engage a reminder from Allah. You know what's even crazier? Sometimes a person learns and they confuse the learning with becoming a good person. Like, because I'm learning, I'm now one of the beloved of Allah. No, you're learning to become a beloved of Allah. You're not learning, and that made you beloved. Because the Israelites learned a lot. They learned a lot. Allah testifies to how much they learned and how much they knew. And yet they rejected the Prophet ﷺ. And Allah talks about how their hearts were hard, right? So learning isn't the accomplishment. Learning is a profound, and he does emphasize learning, but learning is a means to a much more important end. And the end is this heart. Because on Judgment Day, Allah will not question how much we learned, but Allah will question where our hearts are, right? إِلَّا مَنْ أَتَى اللَّهَ بِقَلْبٍ سَلِيمٍ.